to all you John Knox residents. Once again, this is Ron Clement, President of Resident Council, and we are having our March presentation, monthly presentation. Of course, we usually do these at the Resident Council meetings, but we're not having the meetings. So for several months now, we've done a presentation by someone from campus, and this time we are fortunate to have Dan Rexroth, who was the President and CEO of John Knox, and probably just about all of you know who Dan is, and I know many of you, maybe most of you, have heard him speak before, and it's a real treat. And today we're in luck because he just presented the strategic plan to the board of directors, and so he's coming at you folks with pretty much the same talk, and he's going to let me stand here with him, and if I have a question I'll go ahead and ask, and we'll see where this goes, and I think you'll enjoy it. Dan?
Thank you, Ron, and thank you residents for tuning in. John Knox Village, I'm so proud that we are an open and transparent community that likes to communicate everything that's going on around the village. And so, as Ron said, each year the board goes through this strategic planning process, and so I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about that. One of the things that we do is not only an annual budget, which is just next year's plan, but we also think about 3 to 5 years. What are we going to do over the course of the near future? And that's usually defined as kind of a 3 to 5 year horizon. And then we talk about some conceptual ideas way out into the future. And so I'm proud to say that the village is always thinking ahead, always thinking beyond just next year's budget. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is a little bit about kind of that 3 to 5 year plan. But I thought I'd really cover 4 areas, Ron.
Okay.
Thought I'd cover projects that we've completed, give you a little update on that, quick. Current projects that we're working on right now, give you an update on that. Talk about some trends in the greater world, and then finally talk about some new initiatives going forward. So
sounds good.
If that sounds good, then we'll jump right in. Put your seatbelts on, because this is going to be fast and furious, and if you're interested, maybe in the future we could actually do a PowerPoint presentation with slides and all that kind of thing. So depending on resident interest, we could do that with even more detail, but here we go. First of all, I always like to start with the mission and the vision, because John Knox Village is a not-for-profit retirement community. I think that we are here to serve, we're here to build community, we're here to enrich people's lives, we're here to build relationships. That is it okay to say that trumps everything? So we are about our mission and our vision. So the completed projects, let me do 4 real quick. So back in 2016 we completed Courtyard D. Just to report, boy, that building, that project has been highly successful. Always full or near full. We sell those units quickly. That brings an additional $1 million a year to the village in form of entry fees, and also makes an operating contribution. Second, we did the Meadows project, phase 1. That was opened up in phases. If you remember, 2017, 2018, we opened each building one at a time. Those also sold quickly, doing very, very well. Again, nearly full. The units sell quickly. Both the D building and the Meadows run over 90% occupied, and that adds about $3 million of entrance fees each year, in addition to operating contributions. The benefit for all the residents of the village, not only financially, but also 3 new restaurants, theater, salon, fitness center, swimming pool, meeting rooms. So those 2 projects really added to the amenities for all of village residents. Villas, the third project that we continue to work on. Between 2015 and 2020, we built 31 villas. Those are paying for themselves right out of the chute, and bring an additional $1.2 million or so of monthly service fee revenue to the village without any additional costs. Those are 100% occupied, and we haven't had any openings in those, so it's great. Those sell quickly. And then finally, the fourth completed project is the new assisted living, the 400 unit, 25 new units. because of this little COVID thing, we've had a little bit of a hard upstart of that. We have 14 occupied units of the 25. But when it gets to stabilized occupancy, that's going to bring in about an additional $1.7 million in annual revenue. So those are the 4 recently completed projects and a quick summary of their success. So, and it has been certainly a success so far.
And let me just add, this is not a question, I just want to add something. My wife Pat and I arrived here beginning of 2014, and it was shortly after that, maybe that year, that they tore down the old Building D and then started to build the new one, which has really been a success. And so Pat and I have been through all of what you just covered, and it's really been exciting. It's really worked out well.
Thanks. Yes,
Yep.
every one of those projects has been a tremendous success for the village. So let's shift gears a little bit. Current projects, what are we working on right now? Of course, Meadows 2, and we're doing pre-sales on that. As you know, we're tearing some buildings down. We're working on financing, construction costs. So quick summary, 52 units in Meadows 2, also 52 structured parking places, so underground parking. As of today, we have 16 deposits on those 52 units with several other additional holds. So our goal is to get to 26 before we pull the trigger on financing, and what we're looking to do is have that all teed up with the deposits and everything ready to go to financing and to pull the trigger on construction on or around May 1st. That's going to be a construction project that's going to be 15-16 months. So that tells you by the summer of 2022, we'll have that construction complete. And then it takes about another 24 months from start to finish to get it completely filled up.
Sure.
So construction starts this summer, it'll be complete the following summer, and about 24 months to fill up. So that's Meadows 2. Villas Phase 6, I'm pleased to report, and most of you have probably seen on the south side of campus, down there on Shamrock, those 7 units that are being built. All 7 of those are now sold. So even during this COVID time, people are moving in and people are just selecting those units. So the completion date on that will be March 22nd. And we have people, maybe as many as 5 people that are going to move in before the end of March. So they're still making their final decisions, but it could be up to 5 that get in here before our new fiscal year starts, which is April 1st. The second thing under current, well, let me just say one more thing about Villas Phase 6. That's going to bring $2.9 million of entrance fees and $281,000 of monthly service fees. So that's terrific, because all of these units that we add incrementally, we're not adding a lot of cost and expense and new things. So that really does help the village tremendously, help all residents when we get those new residents coming in. Then assisted living. That project, we built a brand new assisted living, but then right next door were these older assisted living units. So we're spending $1.3 million to try and get as much as possible the old assisted living to look like the new. So they're doing things like lighting and paint and carpet and artwork and furniture, nurses' stations, restrooms. Outside the porte-cochere, you'll see that being upgraded. And that's about a $1.3 million project. It's already underway, and it's going to be completed sometime in June.
And the assisted living unit that was just built in place of old Astoria has what, 25 units?
25 units, right.
And they're all taken, aren't they? Pretty much.
Well, no. Because of COVID, we have 14 of the 25 that are taken. During COVID, we've really restricted admissions to that. We have taken some residents into assisted living, but outside admissions, we've curbed it, trying to hold back the virus. So what we think the best plan is here, Ron, is to get that all renovated. Then once we're able to open up again and be wide open, we'll all be ready to go to market, sell, and fill that unit once again.
So, yeah, and Pat and I know several people who are living in the new assisted living building, and they just really like it a lot.
Yeah, that's right. And we think there's some pent-up demand, you know, not only for assisted living, but also in independent living. We think that there's a lot of people out in the community, they'd really like to move here. And so once COVID is kind of in the rearview mirror, we think there's going to be a big pent-up demand in those areas, and so we're very excited about the future.
Yeah, sure.
So let's shift gears now and go to some broader trends, because we always like to look at the exterior environment, what's going on in the world and in Kansas City and the community. And so I've identified a handful of trends that are probably apparent to most of us. One is just the aging demographic, and we've heard on and on about the aging of America, the baby boomers, and we know that not only in the country but in Missouri and specifically in this Kansas City area and Lee Summit, there's going to be a tremendous future for us in the next few years in terms of just sheer numbers of people who are age qualified, income qualified. On the flip side of that, we know there's a somewhat shrinking pool, a labor force and talent out there with growing healthcare needs. And Lee Summit has been quite the healthcare mecca with the hospitals that have been built, all that's happening. We compete with all those folks for talent. So that's going to be an issue for us. How do we continue to draw talent? The healthcare environment is changing quite a bit, and how healthcare is delivered. On the flip side, technology is becoming very real. Lots of options for us in the area of technology. I can't get into lots of detail there. Finally, access to capital. Interesting, during COVID, the banks, the investors, they kind of froze up for a little while. They weren't quite sure what was going to happen in this COVID environment. Now we see extremely advantageous financing. So there had been such a drought of people who were building that hit the pause button, but right now we see huge opportunities. So I think Meadows too, we're going to get extremely favorable financing rates. So we always keep our eyes and ears on that. One
quick question. I know, and a lot of people do, of course, that the nationwide the demand for nurses currently exceeds the supply, and that's been a problem. I guess we've done pretty well, and of course we had the program with the Filipino nurses, and I understood not only did that work well in general, but they are very well qualified. We're still pursuing that?
Yes, thanks for asking, and we are pursuing that, and we've had some new activity on that front, and we believe in the next couple to few months we'll have some additional international nurses that will be coming. So I think could be as many over this next year as 20 to 25 additional international nurses, which will be a huge boost to us. So good news. All right, let's talk about new initiatives. So these are kind of the new things and what's going to happen here over the next few years. Talk about three categories and three focus areas that we're working on. One is campus redevelopment. Kind of a lot of what we've been talking about, but we're going to do more, independent living, that kind of thing. The second one is healthcare and what we call the continuum of care. So after independent living, if you need health services, what services are available and how they provided. And then thirdly, we want to be an employer of choice. So it's really addressing this issue of staffing. So those are the three areas. So let's dive into campus redevelopment. We've kind of taken a pause and stepped back, Ron, and looked at, okay, we built a lot over the last few years. How are we doing in terms of positioning our price points and the size of the units? And we've always talked about, we want to hit a wide swath of the market, kind of the middle 3/5. Generally, we don't attract the very, very poor, nor do we attract the very, very rich. Those people go to Palm Springs, I guess. I'm not sure where they go. But kind of that 3/5. And so we did an analysis of how are we doing in that. We evaluated what types of units, and I think we're in a pretty good place. We're going to immediately work on Villas Phase 7, and that's going to be 7 new units. Some of you may see some fencing around the village, places like a Willow,
Oh, yeah.
Redbud, 3 houses on Craigmont. So those are going to be phase 7, and that's 7 units. We've also identified phases 8, 9, and 10.
My goodness.
So those will be 24 additional units, and once phase 7 is complete, we'll just keep rolling into the next phase. Many of you have seen a conceptual design for Meadows phase 3, and actually it's an addition onto the west side of the Meadows, Meadows West. We're going to put that on hold because in our analysis we feel like that particular size of unit, price point of the unit, maybe there's a little different direction. We've built 104 in phase 1 and 52 in phase 2, that maybe we could look at another type of apartment project.
Okay.
So we're still kind of working on that, but Meadows phase 3 would be on hold, not going forward right now.
Okay.
So that's a decision that we've made. So that's kind of a summary of campus redevelopment. In the continuum of care, we know that people like their home, and you like your home, I like my home. We want to stay in our home as long as possible. If we need health care, most of us would like it either in our home or possibly in assisted living. Those are the two main choices.
Yep.
So we know location is important. We know that excellence is important when we deliver that health care to you. We have to be efficient with our labor, so we know that's important. And then we know that there's reimbursement, either Medicare or Medicare Advantage plans, Medicaid, other forms of reimbursement. We want to be aligned with the reimbursement methodology. So those are considerations. So we're going to continue to work over the next few years on how we can more and better provide in-home and care where people want it in their ideal environment. And when you look at it, John Knox Village is the perfect place for residents who need health care. There are so many services with home health, hospice, private duty, and then our assisted living care center. So many. It's the ideal place. We can provide, I think, really something extraordinary here. COVID has changed the landscape a little bit because we haven't been admitting people to the care center. So by its very nature, it has forced us to do some things in-home where before we might have moved somebody to the care center. So the care center census has lowered in recent days. We see that as probably a trend going forward in the future. And we think with the aid of technology, that maybe there are some things that we can do to continue to push in that direction to provide in-home care.
When you say in-home, you mean in-home on campus and off campus? Or are we talking primarily on campus?
Can be off campus also, because we do a lot of home health and hospice off campus. We're primarily focused on our own residents, but it also can apply outside the campus. So the other thing the board just approved is for the care center, you can sign up for Medicare, or you can choose a Medicare Advantage plan. Some people do that. Humana, Coventry, United, there's a lot of those plans. Instead of being on traditional Medicare, you signed up maybe for a Medicare Advantage plan. John Knox Village has an opportunity, and we're going to take advantage of that, to actually have our own Medicare Advantage plan. We're going to pay, by doing that, we can provide additional services to residents that may not be otherwise available. So we're going to start that in the care center, and then possibly over time expand that out to assisted living and even independent living residents. So that's kind of a new initiative for us. So that's in the continuum of care. And then the final thing is employer of choice. And there's a few things that we need to do there. I think first and foremost, people want to work in a place that they feel good about. They feel appreciated. They feel there's a kindness, a respect, support. We talk a lot here about relationships. I talk about this being one community. It's not a community of of residents and other community of associates, it's one community.
Yeah.
We're friends with one another. We, post-COVID, we will eat together again.
Yeah.
We will live together in community again. So that's all important. That's what I call culture. We need to have that first and foremost. We're also looking, though, how can we provide appropriate and living wage for even our lowest, and so we're really looking at the lowest paid pay grades in the village. If you look at hospitals and Target and Hobby Lobby, all these places, they're all raising, and even the federal government's talking about raising minimum wage.
Right.
We need to be responsive to that. And so we're sensitive to how can we get that pay up for those folks. So that's important. And then benefits. One thing we did this year was we reduced our health insurance, the deductible on the health insurance, because it's difficult, particularly for lower paid associates, to pay that out-of-pocket expense. So we're working on that. And then the other thing I'm very proud of is job security with COVID. We basically said we want to keep everyone employed during this COVID time. So we probably had 36 people that were reassigned to new jobs. We have such good people working here. We wanted to keep them, and we didn't want them to have the insecurity of, I might catch the virus, and I might lose my job. We wanted to say, no, you're going to be employed. We want to keep you employed. Even though we've had some significant business interruption, we want to make sure that folks stay working and feel confident that they're going to be at the village. So that's all wrapped up in that being that employer of choice. So,
and something else I think I've noticed about John Knox, I'm pretty sure this is correct, we try to emphasize promotion from within.
Yes.
So if you look at folks who've retired or moved on, generally you find somebody from within who, Brian Opoka in charge of campus security and so forth.
Right. Billy and David in charge of landscape. There probably were on at least 5 or 6 examples just last year of new managers who came from within the ranks. So thanks for bringing that up. That's a big thing for us. So, and then in terms of what's the long range for the village? Well, we want to continue to grow. I mean, a couple of big ideas. Wouldn't it be great if we had a little bit more of a grand entry, maybe a new home for sales and marketing, so that we could put our best foot forward when prospects first come to the campus. And we're reading more and more about smart homes with Alexa devices and that kind of thing. So those are kind of out there dreams and out there thinking. Probably won't happen next year, but a lot of things that we are thinking on and working on. So I've tried in a few minutes to give you a good summary, and certainly always open to resident questions.
Sure, and I appreciate how thorough you were in such a short period of time. I'm sure just about everybody out there was glad to hear this, but it's nice to know that basically we're in good hands, folks. You're looking ahead. I have nothing against a Meadows 3, but I like the fact that you're going to step back and say, okay, now what works best here? And the other thing I want to mention that really wasn't part of the topic today, but I think everybody knows this, that the John Knox response to not only COVID in general, but to the vaccinations has just been terrific. I mean, my wife and I were both very impressed. Everyone we talked to it's just so well organized and just really neat.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. We're taping here in the Meadows, and as a matter of fact, today is vaccination day for folks in Meadows, and they're all getting off the brand new buses and coming in and with smiles on their face. So we like that, and the good Lord has been very favorable to us weather-wise, because was it last week or the week before, we had these bitter temperatures, but both weeks for independent living vaccination, it has been really good, ideal weather. So thanks for that. Staff, I can tell you, has done a lot of hundreds of hours of behind-the-scene works to make it seem easy. So sometimes those easy things are really very complicated, but because we've worked so hard, they've been so easy. So the team has done a nice job. Thank you.
I agree. Well, I want to thank you again for giving this presentation. I know it was very informative to the folks out there, and as a lot of people know, we try to do this with you at least once a year, and this went very well, I thought. Next month, we're going to have in here the new president of the Resident Council, because I'll be stepping down, and I'm going to introduce her, Fran Baker, and I'm hoping to bring in Sandy Hunt, who is our secretary, who almost never gets to step in front of people and hear people praise her, so we're going to do that. And we should know by then our new vice president, but there are 2 candidates. And so we've got to make sure the election's over before we can do that. But that's the plan for next month. And again, Dan, thank you very much.
All right, and thank you all for your patience and putting up with non-TV personalities. Ron, you didn't know you were going to be a TV personality when you took this job, right? I didn't know I was going to be a TV personality, but thank you all for your patience and for putting up in this maybe less than great performance. So thank you all.
Yep, thank you.